எங்களை பின்பற்றி தொடர்ந்து இந்த தமிழ் கற்பித்தலை முன்னெடுக்க வேண்டும் என்ற நோக்கில் ஞாயிறு தோறும் அந்த புதிய மாணவர்களை, அடுத்த தலைமுறை சேர்ந்த மாணவர்களை ஆசிரியர்களாக தமிழ் வகைகள் படிப்பிக்க வந்ததே பெரிய விஷயம். அவர்களுக்கான பயிற்சியை கொடுத்து ஆசிரியர்களுக்கு முன்னிலையில ஒவ்வொரு விடயங்களாக அவர்களை நாங்கள் அவர்களை அதன் ஆசிரியர்களோட தங்களை பார்வையை கொடுக்குமாறு நாங்கள் அவர்களை படித்து அவர்கள் வாரந்தோறும் கிழமைத்தோறும் செய்து கொண்டு வருகிறார். அந்த வகையில இன்றைக்கு பிருந்தா அவர்கள் தன்னுடைய பிரசன்டேஷன், அதாவது தன்னுடைய கற்பித்தல் முறையை இங்கு உங்களோடு பகிர்ந்து கொள்ள இருக்கிறார். இவர்களுக்கான கற்பித்தல் முறைகளை நான் கற்பித்ததை ஒழிய இந்த ஒவ்வொரு வாரமும் நடக்கின்ற, உங்கள் எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும், இதுக்கு முதல் வந்தவர் எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும், ஒவ்வொரு வாரம் நடக்கின்ற அந்த அவர்களுடைய பதிவுகளும் அவர்களுடைய கூட்டுக்களும் அவர்கள் பவர் பாயிண்ட் எப்படி செய்திருக்கிறார்கள் என்பதெல்லாம் அவர்களுடைய சொந்தமானது. நான் அதை பார்க்கிற கூட இல்லை. ஏனென்றால் அவர்கள் தேடி ஆழ்ந்து செய்யும் பொழுதுதான் அதில் அவர்களுக்கு புலமை வரும். அதுல சில தவறுகள் இருந்தால் கூட அதை பிறகு ஆசிரியர்களோ மற்றவர்களோ சொல்லிக் கொடுக்கதான் அவர்களுக்கு அதை பற்றிய முழுமையாக விளக்கமும் தெளிவும் அவர்களுக்கு ஏற்படும். அந்த அடிப்படையில இதெல்லாம் அந்தந்த பிள்ளைகளுடைய சொந்த முயற்சி. அதற்குரிய கற்பித்தலை நான் கொடுத்திருக்கிறேன். அந்த எப்படி தமிழ் மொழியை 2வது மொழியாக எப்படி கற்பிக்கிறது என்பதை அந்த அடிப்படையில இன்றைக்கு பிருந்தா இவர் பல்கலைக்கழகத்தில 2வது வருடம் படிக்கின்ற ஒரு பொறியியல் மாணவி, இன்ஜினியரிங் படித்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார். அதோடு அவர் தமிழ் படிப்பிக்க வேண்டும் என்று வந்தது அவருக்கும் அவற்றை பெற்றார்களுக்கும் இன்ஜினியரிங் செய்கிறதுக்குள்ள உதவிட்டு போட்டு அங்க வேறு போறாண்டு கேட்காம அந்த ஆர்வத்தோடு வந்தது அவரையும் அவற்றை பெற்றார்களையும் நாங்கள் பாராட்டுவோம். கிட்டத்தட்ட 30 பிள்ளைகள் இந்த தமிழ் கற்பிப்பதற்காக முன் வந்து இந்த இடம் பயிற்சி எடுத்துக்கொண்டு இருக்கிறார். அவர்களில் ஒவ்வொரு தலைப்பெண்கள் வாரந்தோறும் இதே நேரத்துக்கு இந்த அவர்களுடைய பிரசன்டேஷன் இருக்கும். இன்னைக்கு பிருந்தா செய்ய போறது விஷயம் முற்றிலுமாக தமிழ் மொழியை தெரியாத ஒருவர், அதாவது ஆங்கிலம் மாத்திரம் தெரியும், வேறு ஒன்றுமே தெரியாது. அவர் வேற்றினத்தினவராக இருக்கலாம், தமிழராக இருக்கலாம். அவருக்கு எப்படி இந்த தமிழ் மொழியை பற்றிய, தமிழ் மொழியினுடைய ஒரு தோற்றத்தை பற்றிய ஒரு அறிமுகத்தை கொடுத்து 1வது பாடத்தை அவருக்கு எப்படி கற்பிப்பது என்பதை பற்றிய தான் இன்றைக்கு செய்ய போறான். அதுதான் அவருக்கு கொடுத்த வேலை. நீங்கள் எல்லோரும் அதை பார்த்து உங்களுடைய அபிப்பிராயங்களை, அவர் இடையில கேள்வி கேட்டால் பங்கு பெற்றுங்கள். ஒரு மாணவர்கள்ட்ட வகுப்புல கேள்வி கேட்க மாணவர்கள் சொல்லுவோம், பங்கு பெற்றுங்கள். இந்த வாரம் பல ஆசிரியர்கள் நல்லா பங்கு பெற்றினார்கள். என்ன அதில் சிறப்பு என்னென்றால், மாணவர்கள் தங்களிடம் அதை படிப்பிக்க கேட்ட கேள்வியைத்தான் இவர்கள் கேட்பார், பதிலைத்தான் சொல்லுவார். உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், இதற்கு எல்லாரும் பல முதிர்ச்சி பெற்ற ஆசிரியர்கள் உண்மையான பதில கேட்க இல்லை. நீங்கள் வகுப்புல கேட்கும் பொழுது மாணவர்கள் என்ன பதில் சொன்னார்களோ அதை சொல்லுவோம். அப்பொழுதுதான் இவர்கள் எப்படி அதை கையாளுகிறார்கள், எப்படி கையாண்டு அதுக்கு அந்த விளங்கப்படுத்துகிறார்கள் என்பதெல்லாம் தெரியவர். அந்த அடிப்படையில இது இந்த வகுப்பு நடைபெறும். இப்ப பிருந்தா, நீங்கள் உங்களுடைய இதை துவங்கலாம்.
நன்றி மாஸ்டர். Okay, so எல்லாருக்கும் வணக்கம். So what I just said was welcome. Welcome to this virtual online Tamil class for beginners. So this class is for any type of student who are trying to learn Tamil. Whether you are younger or older, you may understand Tamil but don't speak it, or may not understand Tamil and want to learn. Maybe you're even fluent in Tamil. But today's specific is that you completely don't know Tamil at all, and so I'll need to speak in English with you. Whichever type of learner you are, this class that is presented to you will boost your understanding with a great certainty. All right. So before I start to tell you about who I am and explain to you what this teaching method is, I would like to thank Rajanatnam Subramania Master for, first of all, researching about this teaching method and organizing it together in order for students like me and teachers like you to be teaching it to other students so that they can easily learn Tamil. So he has created an accessible method for students like us to easily learn Tamil and to continue to pass it on to the following generations to come. So thanks to him, I am here today to teach you Tamil and to allow Tamil to prosper and to continuously go on. So now let's go on to who am I? So to introduce myself, my name is Brinda and I will be your instructor. So I have studied Tamil for 18 years now. But ever since I attended Master Rajaratnam's class, I've been learning and understanding Tamil in a much easier way. It's been an easy method for me to actually understand the concepts and understand the meaning of why we learn it like this. Why is Tamil like this? So I speak up from experience when I say that this method, this Padimurai, works. So like I said, this is a beginner's class and it focuses on the foundations you need to learn Tamil. So what makes this teaching method so unique? What is different from the previous teaching styles? So the answer is Padimurai Tamil. So you may have seen this word before and I might have mentioned it a few times in the other slides. But what is that? What is Padimurai Tamil? I'm going to tell you. So Padimurai Tamil is a second language method. Now, before I get to second language method, I know that people know what first language method is. Has anyone, can I get like Tushi? Can you answer me what first language method is? What do you know about it? Oh, you just muted yourself.
Tushi, okay. Mic on பண்ணுங்க.
Oh, no.
வகுப்புல நிக்கிறது இப்ப கதைக்க வேண்டாம்.
You asked me second language?
So what is first language?
First
What is first language?
Yeah.
What do you know about it?
Yeah. Whatever we speak in at home.
Good.
That's my first language. Speaking and writing or whatever.
Right.
Whatever we are fluent in, that's our first language.
Yeah. So the general method that has been taught for students in school is considered the first language method. And the language is taught as if the students has knowledge already about it because they are actively learning it since birth. They're actively learning it through their parents because they're communicating with them at home. So this is also known as the native language, or you might be more familiar with the word mother tongue. So that's what first language would be, your mother tongue. It appears to be less complex to the child because they already learned it from birth. But now let's look at second language method. This is the language that is often learned at a stage after the mother tongue. So you're learning this language after you have learned your first language. So it could be days, weeks, months, and maybe many, many, many years later. So it's going to be harder for them to like catch on to because like child is that development stage where you'll be able to easily learn something new. As you grow older, it gets harder. So that's how this method is taught, as if the language is harder for you to grab concepts to. And this method is taught to you by learning and studying the grammar rules and the concepts. So you're going to the very, very core for the students to understand. So now let's put this together. So what is the difference between the teaching method, first language and second language? it is that the instructor views you, the student, differently. They're viewing your skills differently, as if you don't absolutely know much about the language, as if you're teaching it from the very basic. In this class, we will be focusing on the foundations for the students without the required foundation in Tamil. And obviously, I would be speaking in English so you can understand what I'm saying. But I'm going to also mix in like Tamil words so you get the familiarization, so you get the exposure of learning how to communicate in the Tamil language. And so it comes easier for you when you can understand it when I repeat it afterwards. And so you can also like communicate it with me afterwards. So let's move along to how this works. So to make this Padimurai to work and to bring it online, we created this form for students, and we send it out to like new students to fill out. And based on their responses, this form, we will group them accordingly. So like, what do I mean by grouping them accordingly? Let's take a look at that. So yeah, there's different type of learners, like I told you before. And we recognize that these students have these different skills. And to be able to teach them through their certain skills, we group them. So the first one we can look at is that here we have one group that can speak and understand Tamil fluent. They're fluent speakers. And another group is that here, with the dancers, we have another group that students cannot speak, but they can understand Tamil. And another group, which we will consider for now the last group, is the students that cannot speak or understand Tamil, which is why we will speak in English. And imagine if we combine these groups together. Imagine if we mix them together. What will happen? If these groups were mixed together, we can see that a possible fallback would be that students would be falling behind if they don't understand what's actually going on in class. The students won't be catching on to everything I'm saying. Some students and these would be the students that don't really know Tamil, that can't really speak it or really can't understand it. But then we have the other half. If I were going at the pace of the students that don't understand, the students who can speak it fluently would be like kind of bored and they won't be as interested in Tamil. So we don't want that. We want them to enjoy Tamil and to want to learn more. And we want them to come back to class again. So in order to do that, we've separated them into groups. So they can enjoy it and so they can learn and actually understand what's going on in class. So all in all, this is going to be a better learning environment that helps the student learn better and to succeed in Tamil. So now let's understand languages. So in Tamil, we would call this Mori. So languages is Mori. Languages are both Yetke and Sayetke. So what are these words? These are big words that are like, what is that? Yetke, it just simply means natural. It comes easily. And in language, we will call this like vowels. If we take out the English alphabet, this would be like the vowels. So the vowels are Yetke. But in Tamil, instead of calling them vowels, we call them Uyir. So we'll look more into that, what that is later on. But I also said another word, which was Sayetke. What is that? Sayetke is just the exact opposite of Yetke. So if Yetke is natural, what is Sayetke? Sayetke is man-made. It's not natural. It is created by the man. And in languages, this would be considered like consonants. And in Tamil, we would call this the May sounds. And just to go overall of what we have in common in languages is that they all have vowels in some shape or form. They all have it. So language is a method of communication. So we know a few languages already. We know that there's English and Tamil. Those are languages. Can anyone else tell me what other languages they know? Can I get Stella to tell me what languages that you might know?
French.
French, yeah. Tirumalenti.
Okay.
What other languages do you know? So there's English, Tamil, and they were said French,
Singalam.
Singalam, yeah. So those are good languages. So there's languages, many languages.
Tamil, English, கொஞ்சம் சிங்களம் தெரியும். சிங்களம்.
Good. So you know a lot of languages. Dwaraka, do you know any other languages? Spanish, yeah. So those are languages. Drawing is also a visual language. Signing for the deaf, that's a language. People even consider Braille, that is considered like a writing language for the blind. And because I'm an engineer, I have to say this, even computers have language so they can detect and understand what the user is trying to say. And this language is called binary coding. So there's so many languages in the world. Can I get anyone to tell me how many languages they think there are spoken today? Gayatri?
1045. 1161.
7,000.
7,000?
200.
200?
200.
Okay, these are good guesses. Raj? No?
Oh, maybe 2000, something like that. And I'm just guessing.
Okay, so those are good guesses. So actually, there's not an exact number that's determined, but it's about like 7,000 languages. So someone said 7,000 languages before. So yeah, you're pretty close. So it's 7,000 languages that are actually spoken today, right now. And in each language is different from the other, but they also have some similarities. And one thing all languages have in common is that they use sound as a base, right? And this is very pertinent. So knowing that sound is very important to Tamil. We need that in Tamil. So of these 7,000 languages, we have 3,982, which are written languages. And these are the 5 types of written languages we have. And I'll explain more about these on the next slide. So we have the 5 types of written languages here. The first one being alphabets. Did someone say something? No? Okay, I'm gonna continue. So the first one is alphabet. The next one is Abjads. The next one being Abugidas, syllabaries, and the last one, logosyllabaries. So these are like the main types of written languages. Now let's look into the first one, which is the one that we're most familiar with. And this is alphabets. And we know what this is. This is used in basically English. And alphabets is just basically means each letter represents a single sound. Well, at least a single sound. And I'll explain to you why. So it can be a consonant or a vowel. So these are like random examples on screen. You see random examples of different types of alphabets. We know English is an alphabet, but it's actually known as modern Latin alphabet here. And in English, A represents the vowel sound A, and B represents the consonant sound B. But English can be kind of also confusing because it doesn't, if we take C, for example, it doesn't actually only have a single sound. So we can pronounce it as K for car and S for city. And it varies for every letter that we have in the alphabets. But the basic point is that alphabets in general, each letter represents at least one sound. And other examples of alphabets would be like Latin, French, Spanish, German, and we have like other examples on the screen right here. I think we have like Russian and Armenian, but there's many examples of alphabets. Let's move on to the next one. The next one is Abugidas, and this is the next type of writing system. Abugidas, they're also known as consonant alphabets. And the reason why they got this name, consonant alphabets, is because the writing system is full of alphabets, except they're primarily based on just consonants. They don't really they have vowels, but they're not written as vowels. And they would only use it like in religious reasons. If it's very necessary, then they'll add the vowels, but usually it's written without it, and it's written from right to left. Sorry. So unlike English, where it's written from left to right, Abugidas would be written from right to left. And some examples I wrote down were Hebrew and Arabic. And we can see that, so most of the letters are consonants with the vowels missing. But yeah, we know that every language needs the vowels. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. Okay. It's just that Abugidas usually don't include them in writing. And instead, the reader is expected to just say it. So it's not written out for you, but the reader already knows, oh, there should be a vowel between these letters. So that's how Abugidas work. The next one is syllabaries. So in syllabary, each character represents an entire syllable, and rather than just one single sound like alphabets. And a syllable, it generally means one consonant with one vowel. Every combination of a consonant and vowel has its own unique symbol, and therefore it's compared to alphabets sometimes, but there are more symbols in total that needs to be learned. So Japanese is a good example of syllabary right here. So this is some letters that are in hiragana, which is the Japanese type. And here is one symbol that represents one syllable at the top. So that's syllabaries for you. The next one is logo syllabary. So this is the fourth category. In logo syllabary, a single character can stand for a unique symbol, unique syllable, but also for an entire word or an idea. And the examples that I have put out for you is the language Chinese. So Chinese falls in this category. And we can probably guess that there's thousands of unique characters just for each word or each idea. So it can get very complicated and hard to actually memorize. The last writing system that we have is Abugidas, which falls somewhere between alphabets and syllabaries, which is why they're called syllabic alphabets sometimes. And Abugidas, like alphabets, have unique characters for both vowels and consonants, but the vowel letters are generally used in situations where a word begins with the vowel. So the vowel will come in the front of a word. And they would also have like small changes to like make it look like that the vowel follows the consonant. And an example of this would be like Hindi. I didn't give you an example here on the screen, but Hindi is an example. I don't know if you guys know what that looks like. But it's kind of like a syllabary because each consonant vowel combination looks a little bit different but it's also similar. So that's Abugidas for you. But now I have a question that I need someone to answer for me. But before I ask the question, I just want to quickly recap so you guys have it fresh in your mind. So Abugidas have characters for each consonant. Alphabets have characters for each consonant and for each vowel. Syllabaries have characters for each syllable or consonant vowel combination. Logo syllabaries have characters for each big word, major word, or word part. And the last one is Abugidas is basically just a mix of alphabets and syllabaries. Now look at this slide. So these are like Tamil letters or sounds. But can anyone tell me which writing system does Tamil fall under? Can I get oh, I have a hand. Tavion, I don't know if I'm saying your name. Tavion and Rubini.
Vivian?
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Tamil falls under the Abugidas. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it probably, but Abugidas category.
Okay, so you think it falls under Abugidas. Can anyone else guess what Tamil may fall under? No? Susila? Or yeah. Syllables? Okay, yeah, that's a good Krishnavi? What do you think it falls under?
I think it falls under Abugidas too.
Okay. So the actual right answer is syllables. So it actually falls under syllables. I know it was told a few times that it was actually Abugidas, but to be honest, it's actually falling under syllables. So keep this in mind. Why does Tamil script fall under syllables? Is because that in Tamil, each character represents an entire syllable rather than like a single sound. And a syllable generally means one consonant with one vowel. That's how we are pronouncing them. Yes, they look like separate characters, but when we're saying them, when we're pronouncing them, these are actually syllables. We're saying them as syllables. That's why it's following under syllables. So there are more symbols that in total that need to be learned, but we have like specific ones that come together. And when vowels come in other places of the word, there are small changes in the characters that occur. And these we will call diacritics. And this is just a form of the consonants, and it changes the sound of it or the syllable of it. And we test this by just clapping. So if we clap, we get a syllable. So we clap to the beat of the words to recognize the syllable. Okay, so now I wanted to tell you something about this slide right here. So adding on to the fact that Tamil is a syllabary, we can also see that Tamil is also like a pearl necklace. They all connect, but how does that work? How is that analogy work? So this relates because the necklace is made up of pearls and Tamil is made up of syllables. In this analogy, each pearl represents a syllable. So it's fair to say that a pearl is like a syllable. And the pearls are strung together side by side. And in Tamil, the syllables are like they stick together. So we will call this in Tamil Ottumoli, which just means they stick together. So like the pearls stick together, the syllables stick together. So let's take a look at a couple of quick examples. So here we have the sound ah. So that's just one syllable. So if you clap once, ah, it's just one syllable. And so this yellow circle right here is what represents the pearl, the one syllable. And we have the syllable ah, and this syllable has a meaning. So it's a word. And the meaning is that it's a cow. So ah means cow. So can I get someone else to read the next one? So it's similar. And I have like the English translation of how to say the word underneath. So can I get Sindhu to say? Sindhu?
Sorry, I just had to unmute it. Kan.
Kan. Yeah, so try it with the syllable. So clap when you're saying it.
Ka. Sorry, it's kan.
Yeah, so how many syllables is that?
One.
One. So there's one syllable, but it has two sounds. And it is basically one word, which means I. So that's that one. And now we have the next syllable, which kind of gets a little complicated. Can I get Shaika? I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Can you see this one for me?
Amma.
can you clap while you're saying it?
Amma.
Yeah, so how many syllables did you just get?
2.
2 syllables. So you clap twice when you say the word amma. So it's amma. And when saying the syllables together, we get the word amma, and that just means mother. And the last one we have, I'll just say it myself. We have 3 circles, which means that there's 3 syllables, but let's see how this works. So we have mum, ma. So these are 3 claps, which is 3 syllables. And the word is mama, which just means grandmother. So do you guys notice how these pearls stick together and how they are creating a meaning when you're putting the syllables together? Did you notice that we can create words and meaning out of these syllables when they're sticking together, basically? So this is why Tamil falls under the category of syllabic writing system and not Abugidas, where we're saying that they're like consonants and vowels and we're separating the sounds. All right. So now let's learn about what sounds are. So this is the basic understanding that you'll need to easily learn Tamil. Sounds that come naturally, which we mentioned is இயற்கையாக, are vowels. And this symbolizes how we feel. Our feelings represents the vowels that are made, that are created. That's why it's natural. So for instance, I'm going to ask a quick question. So if we take an example like getting slightly pricked by a needle, what sound would we usually make? So imagine you don't know how to say words. And what is that sound that you're going to make? Can anyone answer? Just mute, take your... Yeah, you'll say ah. Okay. And another example is if our parents tell us not to touch a hot stuff, and we accidentally touch that stove, what is that instant reaction that we have? Anyone?
Ooh.
Ooh. And like that, if we were going to extend the first one, instead of ah, we'll say ah if we were going to scream if we get scared. And if we were going to extend the ooh, if we see something cool, we would say ooh, right? So these are like natural sounds that we make even now, that even though we know words. So this is how we know vowels are sounds that occur naturally. In Tamil, the sounds are depicted as short and long sounds. Like I said, we had the ah and the ah when I put it in different scenarios. And this is just based on the intensity of the feeling. So like I said, ah would be the short vowel, and when intensified, we get ah, and that is ah, which is the long vowel, sorry. So now let's look at what the fundamental of feelings is. And that's a very big word maybe for you guys, but that just basically means as in what is the origin? How does it form? Where did it start? Does anyone want to take a guess maybe? Where do you think feelings start from? How do you feel? Krishnavi? Okay, she's gonna stay on mute, I guess. Anyone answer quickly. What do you guys think? Where do feelings start? How does it start?
Your heart.
Your heart. Okay, yeah, I like that answer. That's a really good answer.
It's naturally.
Someone else answered?
It's naturally like we don't feel anything. We don't do anything. Like it comes automatically.
Right. That also relates to what I'm gonna say next. So it comes naturally. It comes from your heart. So let's look at the next slide. So those are really good answers, which all relate and come together to just being its life. So life comes when our heart is still beating. We still have life if our heart is still beating. It comes naturally. Life is natural. It's a natural thing that happens in this world. So the root of feelings is just simply life. In Tamil, we will call this uyir. So life means uyir in Tamil. And this is represented in Tamil as vowels, which we said earlier, which was natural. which again, someone said correctly. That was like amazing. So life, I'm gonna add another word for you guys to know, which is aseyum, and that just simply means moves. So life moves. And now we're gonna look at another type of sounds, and this is consonants. So first we looked at vowels, which are uyun, and now we're looking at consonants, and which we are calling mei. Consonants are sounds that humans construct. They are making artificially. And like I said before, this in Tamil is sayetke, which is just basically means man-made. So we produce these sounds. We don't produce it naturally, but it's produced unnaturally. And we can also consider this as an aperiodic sound, which just means that some sort of obstruction is occurring. That's why it's like artificial, because we're doing something inside our mouth to make it occur, make this sound occur. So we're making a stop, we're making an obstruction to the airflow, and that's how consonants are also considered obstruents, which is another big word. It just basically means that there's an there's an irregularity of the vibrations that are caused by your tongue or your lips or any part of your other mouth. So if consonants are aperiodic, it's safe to say that vowels are periodic sounds. So that just means there are no obstruction in the airflow. There's no blockage. There's nothing to stop. So here I have a diagram. So just as vowels represents life, consonants represents the body. So I said before that life moves. You think the body moves? So I'm getting a shake of the head from Stella. So the body doesn't move. Without life, okay, with the life, the body will move. But without it, it doesn't. By itself, the body doesn't move. It's like a skeleton, right? So therefore, the body or consonants or may asayad. So it doesn't move. But now let's take a look at how the format of the body looks like to identify what the consonants look like. So to identify it, the body has a dot in the center of the character. This is how we will see it. So I'll show you some examples. You guys can see the screen? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. So here are some examples, and we can see that each one has a dot at the center of the symbol. And I'll show you closely. Oh, yeah. So here we have the sound uk, and it's obstructed and we represented with a dot at the top. So that's how you can tell the difference. So now, how do we go from consonants to syllabic sounds? Because I did tell you that earlier, it's not Abugidas, it's syllabaries, right? So how does it go from consonants to syllabic sounds? But before I answer that question, I just want to quickly go on a recap. So vowels are periodic, which means that the air is continuously moving and there's no obstruction. But consonants are aperiodic, which just means that the movement of the airflow is being stopped. So the vowels help the consonants move. That's how it is going from consonants to syllabic sounds. This is the characteristic of syllabic sounds, right? And so I'll show you an example here. So the vowels right here act like the life that moves the body, which are consonants. And when that combines together, we get a movement. And we call this asay. So without the life, like I said earlier, the body is like a corpse. It's like a skeleton. It just doesn't move on its own. But with the life, when the life is going inside the body, you get a movement. You get a syllable. Now I'm going to ask a question. Does anyone know how many letters are, or I'm sorry, how many sounds there are in Tamil language?
247.
I like that answer.
248.
247.
247.
Okay, I got 247, 28. Okay, so we have a student that knows the second language method here. So 247 is that big number that scares everyone off, but actually there is 28 sounds. And once you understand and learn these 28 sounds, you've basically mastered Tamil. Like that's what you need to understand and move on with Tamil. Once you get that, you're good. You succeeded. So let's look at how Tamil is so much easier than English. So we have a chart here, and I've separated it into the total number of sounds, the number of vowels, and the number of consonants. So in English, we have a total of 26 letters. But in Tamil, I just said that there's 28 sounds, right? But it looks like that there's more letters still in Tamil compared to English. But I'll tell you how it's much easier. So the next one, we have English has 5 vowels. Can anyone tell me what the vowels are in English?
A-E-I-O-U.
Yeah. Okay. So A-E-I-O-U. So that's the vowels in English. And in Tamil, we technically have 10 vowels, but it's just separated by long and short, right? So technically, we can consider it as 5 vowels that are just, each one is long and short. So the first one would be like ah, that's the first one, and that's just separated as and ah. So that's long and that's short and long. Sorry. The next one is e, and then the longer version would be e, and then u, and the longer version is u, and then we have e, and the longer version is a, and then we have o, and the longer version is o. So once you've got the 5 vowels, you already know the other 5, right? So Tamil gets easier on the vowel section. And then the rest of the letters, which is just the consonants, which is May, is just 18. So technically, there's less letters for you to memorize in Tamil. So let's look at what we're going to look at today. So I did tell you that there's 28 sounds in Tamil, but today we're going to separate it by teaching you slowly before just throwing and dumping everything on you. We're going to just learn the 5 new sounds, and 3 of them are going to be consonants, which is the May, and 2 of them are going to be vowels, but they're separated by the short and the long. So you're just learning one vowel, basically, just longer and shorter. So before I move on, I just want to tell you how you say it in Tamil. So I did say that there's longer and shorter version. The shorter version we will call kuril, and the longer version we will call nadil. So I'll explain that again in the next slide. But before that, I want to look at what is expected of you today. So like I said, this is, you're learning Tamil as a second language. And so you can understand what I'm saying, but also get familiar with Tamil words. So I'm going to be mixing it in English and Tamil. And if you don't understand something, usually I would ask you to just stop me, but you guys are obviously teachers. So you might not, but if you want, you guys can still stop me and ask questions, because I want to be able for you to understand. So I will repeat myself many, many, many times so you understand. And the next thing that is expected within this online class is that we have 4 books. I have it with me right now. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but here's 2 of them. And then these are the other 2. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah? Okay, so these are 4 books. So how this works is that 2 of them is going to be used in class. So these 2 books are used in class. One is the Payichinul and one is the Padanul. So the Padanul just means that it's going over the concepts. So we're going to be going over the concepts in class. And then this one is the Paichinu, which has the exercises. So this is just done in class. And I'll show you specifically how these would look on the screen afterwards. And then we have these two books. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, so we have, one is the Moliachal, which is the screen book. And then we have this gray book, which is like crosswords. And I think they're called Sotkarangium. So crosswords, just for them to have fun and to be able to like translate from Tamil to English and English to Tamil. And this is done so that they have a better understanding of what they are learning in class, and so that they can keep practicing. Only if you practice at home, you can continue to understand what you're learning. If you don't practice, you guys remember that saying, practice makes perfect? If you don't practice, you're not going to succeed, right? So only if you practice, you can understand and move forward on with the class, right? So that's why we give homework, and we are giving it in 2 different books. So that's why there's 4 books. So to understand the meaning of the words, So next thing that we're gonna look at is that, yes, this is an interactive class. That's why I keep picking on everyone. So you guys have to interact with me. So I know that you guys are actually learning, and I need you guys to have your mics on when I ask you guys questions, and then keep it off so everyone else can hear what I'm saying. And then you keep your videos on. So because I need to be able to see if you guys are understanding the exercises. Most of it is going to be like shown on how your face and your mouth is working. So you guys have to actually try it and say it. So that's why this is a very interactive class, and that's why we have your videos on and your mics on. But also, lastly, don't be shy to ask questions. You guys have to ask questions so that I know that you're actually learning, and so that I know that you understand what's going on in class. So that's the agenda, and that's the expectations. What are we going to learn overall from this Tamil class is that you're going to successfully one day understand how letters are formed in the Tamil language. And then you're going to understand sounds of the 11 different sounds. There's only 11 different sounds in the books. That's what's given. So that's why it's 11 different sounds. And then you're going to be successfully making syllables using letters that were introduced. And then lastly, you're going to be able to read and form short words using the letters that were introduced in class. So now let's look at the vowels and consonants. So in the alphabets, we have learned that there's vowels and consonants. But do we really know what vowels and consonants are? We know that vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and that we know that consonants are the rest of the letters. But what do they actually mean? Does anyone know what those are?
You mean what vowels are?
Yeah, what are vowels? Like I know I mentioned earlier, there is something that comes naturally, but in English, we have these letters, right? But what does it mean?
When you make a sound without anything stopping it.
Right? Okay, so yeah, you're right. So basically vowels are a speech sound made with your mouth open. So you had to open it up to be able to say it. And yes, it comes without the blockage of the airflow. So like, for example, in English, we have the letter A. And when we try to say A, so try to say it on your own. You can say it without your mics on. When you say it, there's no blockage to the air. Your tongue is not stopping anything. Your lips is not stopping anything. It's just coming out, right? But then when you say the letter S, which is consonants, there is a blockage. You're saying S. There's that blockage. It's being stopped. It's not coming out without the blockage. So we can say that a consonant is a speech sound made with your mouth fairly closed. So you close it in order to make these sounds, or with some kind of blockage or airflow. So this will get easier to understand as you continue to learn the Tamil language. And these vowels and consonants, they work together to create the syllables in the Tamil language.
I have a question.
Who's talking? I don't know.
I am Pramila.
Okay, yes.
You said in the beginning that language has come in two ways, naturally and man-made.
Yeah.
It suits to every language or only in Tamil?
In Tamil, we have specifically, not all languages, but most languages have it like naturally and man-made, but we promote it. We kind of like say this is the natural one and this is the man-made one, and we show it. That's how it is. So Tamil is like the main language that shows that it's natural and that it is man-made.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
பெட்டா கேள்விகளை முடிய மட்டும் கேட்டா நல்லது. Don't stop the flow. Okay, go ahead.
It's okay, master. நான் கேட்டேன் நான் சொல்ல சொல்லி.
Okay.
Okay. So in Tamil vowels, like I said, we call it uyir, which is life, and then the consonants we call it may in Tamil, which is the body, and then the syllables are called ase, which is just the movement. So in Tamil, we have these vowels, consonants, and the characters that denote syllables. And underneath, I've shown you how they work. So we have the body with the life. So the life goes into the body and they create movement, which is the ase. But this is not the only way movement works, but I'll show you later on. So we know that uyir is also an ase. So life is also a movement, but when life goes into the body, that is also a movement. So keep that in mind. So now we're going to learn the 5 sounds. But first, we're going to start off with the consonant sounds. The first before I tell you the first consonant sound, I'm going to tell you how they work. So obviously, consonant sounds has a blockage, and this is made from your mouth or your oral cavity, and you must utilize your tongue or your lips in order to create that blockage. So the first consonant we're going to look at is it. So I'm not going to tell you how it works because I'm going to ask you how it was made, but try to say it as in the word bed. So just add force to it when you're saying bed. So say bed. So it. Can everyone try it? So everyone just put on your mics on and say it.
It.
Yes.
It.
All right. So which part of your mouth is stopping the air? Can anyone tell me?
Tongue.
Tongue, right. So we are using our tongue to create that blockage. So how is it working? So we are taking the tongue, we are extending it, and then we're going to curl it backwards to the roof of your mouth. And here on the screen, it shows that it's at point C, and which is the middle of the roof of your mouth. Right in the center, you're using the tip of your tongue and you're putting pressure to the roof. And you're going to release the tongue. You're not going to touch anywhere else. And you're going to release the air, basically. So that's how this formation is made. This is how the sound is created. Try it yourself using this description, I guess, or basically tutorial of how to say it. So you've said it with knowing the word bed, but now you have an actual tutorial. So I guess now you guys can try saying it properly. So take it. So can everyone turn off your mic? Turn on your mic. Yeah. So it. Good. So now we're going to look at the other two, but I'm going to put it together, but you're gonna explain to me why it was put together. So the next ones are up, like as in the word up in English, the up, and as in mum. Okay, I'm gonna ask someone specific. I think it was I'm gonna like mess up your name. Is it Vivian?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so what can you say up and for me?
Up.
So what is the blockage that is being made to stop the air?
For up, I think it's my lips.
Yeah. What about for
I think it's my lips too.
Good. So you're using your lips to actually create these sounds. But how is it making two different sounds?
The inner lip, the
I didn't hear that. So what do you think? How is you just take a random wild guess?
I guess like up for only lip, for teeth and lip. Is that?
That's a good guess. I'm
I
glad
think
you
it's the
answered.
nose. It's the nose.
Yeah.
The
All
air
right.
coming out of the nose.
So obviously you're closing your lips for both of these sounds, but for so let's look at up first. So up, you're closing your mouth, right? You're putting your lips together, and when you release it, it's gonna travel out your mouth, right? So you say up, and it comes out of your mouth. The air is coming out of your mouth. But for you keep it closed. You keep that force. So you're saying it's not getting released out of your mouth. Instead, it's gonna go back and come out of your nose. So I'll show you a diagram. So this is a close-up. So first, it is, I don't know if I can use a pointer. Uh-oh. That's not what I meant to do. Okay, so here we have up that comes out and it is being released out of your mouth. So you make that blockage with your lips and then it's released out of your mouth. But now you can look at the green dots of how is going to work. So it goes and stops at your lips, but then it cannot be released because you're still keeping your mouth closed. And the air goes back and comes out from your nose. Now try saying up and m with your mouths open. Can you do it? Is it possible?
No.
No. So you need to have your mouth closed in order to create these sounds. You need to have that blockage with your lips in order to create these consonants. So that's how up and m works, and that's why they were put together, because it is being born at the same spot, basically. So how are vowels formed? So in Tamil, we understand that vowels are natural sounds, and these are sounds that we make without force, and they show emotions and feelings. So like I said, the examples before, when you prick your finger or with a needle, you make the sound ah. And then if you put a heavy textbook, you drop it. Say you just drop it onto your foot and it hurts. You say ah, or you say ah, right? Like it sounds crazy, it looks crazy, but that's how you make the sound, right? If you didn't know words. So these are just natural sounds that we make unconsciously. And the vowels in the Tamil were formed from these natural sounds. So they're shown by our emotions. So that's what we're going to look at next. We're going to look at the vowels. So first we looked at the three consonants. We looked at all three of them. Now we're going to go on to the vowels. So the first vowel is ah. So everyone say ah. So and say ah.
ah.
As you can see, we have the two diagrams representing and ah, and you also said it out loud. What do you think? Do you see the difference between these two pictures? What is like, is the tongue different?
No.
The tongue's not different. Good. So what about the mouth? Do you see what's happening with the mouth?
Yes.
Wide open.
Mouth different.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm going to just put it together on top of each other, and we can kind of see, it kind of looks too much lines, but if you guys look closely, you guys would be able to see the ah and the ah. So for ah, there's a small opening with the lips and the mouth. The tongue is still staying the same, but it's a smaller opening, which is why it creates a short sound. So, but then for ah, which is like kind of in the purple lines, that has a bigger opening. It's wider. The tongue is still staying the same, but it's just that the mouth is wider and is apart farther. And that's how the longer vowel is created. So can I get someone to tell me what I just said in their own words? What's the difference between and ah?
For ah, the mouth will open a little bit, and for ah, mouth will open wider.
Yeah, so you have to keep this in mind. Many people make this mistake. They think they're saying it differently, but your mouth is what is making the difference. You have to show that for the short sound, it's the smaller opening, and for the long sound, it's a bigger opening. You have to exaggerate it in order to actually say the sounds correctly. So that's the difference. And so the short sound in Tamil, we call it kuril, and the long sound is called nadil. And we kind of represent it with these arrows. In the first arrow, kuril, we don't really have the stem. And then for nadil, we have the stem to represent that it's longer. So I'm going to ask, which sound do you think opens your mouth small for? What sound do you open your mouth small for?
Kuril.
Kuril. Good.
Kuril.
Good. And what sound do you open your mouth wide for, which is the only other option?
Nadil.
Nadil. Okay, good. So kuril is for short and nadil is for long. Okay. So we looked at ah, and this is the uyir kuril, which just means that uyir is the vowel and kuril means short. So put together, that is the short vowel. And so ah comes for like the word America or sub, right? So how is this working? You are saying it with the smaller mouth opening, right? So that is for ah. So just recap. So you open your mouth and make the ah sound. Nothing should stop the airflow. So it's coming out without blockage, and you're slightly opening it. It's not too wide, it's not too short. But it's just right enough so that you can hear the sound, but it's not too wide that it's creating a different sound. And then the next one is uyir nadil. So this is the long vowel. So it's ah, and it's like the word father or far. And so here you're just opening your mouth larger. So you open the mouth and you make ah sound. Nothing is stopping still because it's a vowel, so there's no blockage to the airflow. You open your mouth wider, and the only thing that's making the sound long is the opening of your mouth. So if your mouth doesn't open wider, then you're just extending it. So if you're just saying ah, you're just extending it for a longer time. The vowel ah, you're just extending it longer. You're not actually creating the sound ah. So you have to open your mouth in order to create the vowel ah. But why do we need to learn the sounds correctly? Why can't we just say ah and ah? It sounds like it sounds very similar. It's gonna confuse everyone. So in Tamil, the pronunciation can change the entire meaning of a word. So let's take an example. So we've learned the word already, which is asay. And this means what? It means to move. Now take the first vowel, which was a, and replace it with ah. And that word will create what? What word would that create? If we take the vowel a and replace it with ah,
Asay.
Asay. So it might sound, you might think, oh, it sounds similar. It's not a big difference. but it changes the entire word. So for ase, we had that it means move, but ase means I like it or I desire it. So you can see that small change is making the entire meaning different. And so this is actually proven by Singapore. So they made a survey, and it actually shows like some crazy numbers of our own Tamil students. So, and this is a great place to start, have done the research, because Tamil is the official language there. But so around the world, 45%, that's a big chunk of people. And 45% of these Tamil speaking students just like you, have the most trouble with just identifying the difference between short and long sounds. But if you learn it correctly in this class, if you actually understand it and close your mouth shorter and open your mouth wider for the long sound, if you actually understand that and you actually do it properly, you've basically mastered it. You've mastered today's lesson, and you can happily join the 55% and maybe even help the 45% to easily learn the short and long vowels. So that's why you need to learn the sounds correctly. So now let's take a look at making syllables. So we're gonna make some essays. So we've learned the 3 consonants and we learned the 2 vowels. I said that's what you're going to be learning today, but using those 2, we can create syllables. So you've learned the sounds, now you're going to create syllables. So how do we make the syllables? We can combine these sounds by taking the uyir, the vowel, and putting it inside the may, and that creates the movement. That creates the ase. Okay. Just wanted to see you guys. So vowels can be considered as syllables on their own, like I said earlier. So uyir is an ase. It moves, but so you don't need to add anything to make them a syllable. So they're already an ase on their own. And consonants, they're not. So they're a corpse, basically, without the life. They're a corpse, they don't move, okay? Keep that in mind. So in order to make them move, you need to add the uyir into it. So here's the diagram. We want to make the syllables. And how do we do it? We take the uyir and you put it into the may and you make the ase. So when life comes into a body, does it take the form of the body or does it have its own form? It's actually like kind of combined together. So when life joins the body, when life goes into the body, it's taking that body, it's removing that dot at the center, because that's what may is. May is the dot. That's how you identify it, right? So it's being removed, and that is going to be the form that is going to be used to create the ase. That's what's going to be used to create the syllable when uyir goes into may. So let's take a look at an example. So here we have the consonant that we learned, which is ut, right? And that is the body, or that's the may. And then we have the vowel or life, which is a, and that is the uyir. Now let's take a, and you're putting it into ut. And when this happens, you have to use this basically formula to actually make the ase. You can't switch it around, or that'll make something else. So you have to have the life going into the body. And once that occurs, you get the form of the body. You remove the dot and you get da. So when you put a into it, you get da, and that is the ase. So to understand this this concept, I have an analogy for you, which is you are based like for example yourself. Take yourself as an example. So you are the form of your parents. You don't exactly look like them, but you kind of look like them. You're similar to them. You have features of them. So that's the ase. You are like the ase, and your parents are like the body, right? So you are the form of your parents, but you don't look exactly like them. You so going back to this concept, the body, if you remove the dot and you are adding diacritics, which are like you're adding like curves or something called like adavu or visceri. You're adding those little changes to make them look like a different form. And so we will look at that in the next chart of what that difference is. What is those diacritics that are being added? So here we have the chart, but before I go into what the chart is, I'm going to tell you that it's color coded. So you can see that there's different colors, right? So we have the color green, and those are representing vowels. And then we have red, which is representing the body, which is mei. And then we have the color blue, which represents the ase or the syllable that is created by the vowel and the consonant. But also take a look at that. There's different shades in the green. There's different shades in the blue. So the lighter colors are actually representing the kuril, which is the short sound. So pay attention to that. And then the darker colors is nadil. So that's the long sound. Okay? So that's what that is. So how do we tell the difference between the consonant and the syllable? So this is where you're going to be able to see it. So I want someone, because we learned these sounds today, I want someone to tell me how it works. So we're going to take the uir and we're going to put it inside the mei, and we're going to create our sounds, new sounds, or new ase. So I want anyone to tell me how it works. I'm going to come back to you guys. Anyone, any young child or anyone. Okay, so I have someone at Susila. Go ahead.
Second.
So
plus
yeah.
A equals da.
Da. So you have ut, a, which equals da. Now do the next one right next to it.
Ut plus A equals
So open your mouth
da.
wider. Da. Okay. Now do the next line. The next row.
Ut plus A equals pa.
So you shorten your mouth a little when you say it, okay?
Pa.
Pa. Okay, good. And the next one?
Ut plus A equals pa.
Good. And the last row?
Plus A equals ma.
Good. And the last one?
Plus A equals ma.
Good. So you basically just mastered. You mastered it. You're good. You are good to go. You've learned Tamil, man.
Thank you.
I'm so proud. So I love that you got this. Okay, so like he said, the first one is da, next one is da when it's longer, and then when we have mei as up, we have pa, and then the longer version is pa, and then for mei as we have ma, and longer version is ma. Now, how do we tell the difference? How do we identify the difference between the short and the long sounds? How do we identify from kuril to nadil? So I'm going to show you what that diacritic was. So here, so we have the same chart, but so when we look at the kuril ase, it takes the form of the body and it's just replaced by removing the dot. That's it. And it's just given to you like that without the dot for the kuril sounds. But for nadil, we have this extra character, this extra symbol. And this is the representation of how our mouth is going to work. So we call this in Tamil the adabu, okay? And this is the diacritic that is being used to identify the longer sound. So if you look closely at this aravu, this is the aravu right here. If you look at it, we have a thin line and then we have a thicker line. And this is just representing, this is a symbol of our lips, which is actually really cool. When I found this out, I was like, wow, I cannot believe that they really use characters that represent our face. So we have the top lip, which is the thin line, and then the bottom lip, which is the thicker line. Now, the thin line doesn't move, so it stays the same. And then we have the thicker line, which can kind of like, if you slide it, it can move to the end and then can come back. So that represents the bottom lip. And that is what you're using to open your mouth. This character right here represents that open your mouth wider. So when you see it, you know, open it up. Okay? So now let's look at which of these can move. Which of these asayum? Can anyone guess? So say the sounds out loud and see if you can move the sounds. And tell me which one you think moves. Who wants to say it? Okay, we have a bunch of blank pictures. No one wants to say it? I don't know who wants to say it.
உயிர் எழுத்துக்கள் அசையும் உயிர் மெய் எழுத்துக்கள் அசையும்.
Okay. What about the may? What about the consonants?
Consonant, it's together become, it's changed with the உயிரோட சேர்ந்து அசையும்.
Okay, good. So you're right. Good job. So here we have which ones move with the check marks and the ones that don't move with the X's. So we have the uyirartar, which is the vowels. They move because it has life. So life moves on its own. It doesn't need anything to move. So the uyirartar, they move. But the consonants, they don't move because they're the corpse, they're the body. They need something to be able to move. So the consonants don't move. May doesn't move. But then we have here where the life goes into the body, where the uir goes into the may to create a movement. So these sounds that are combined by the uir and the may are the sounds or the syllables that do move. So good job. So these are the new sounds that we learned today. We've learned a and a, which is the vowels. We learned it, up, and im, which are the consonants. And we learned da, da, pa, pa, and ma, ma, which are the essays that are created by the vowel going into the consonants. Now let's make more syllables. So this right now, what you have in this chart in the blue are created by life going to the body. Now let's make more syllables by looking at some that are with body with the next to the life. Sorry. Yeah. So consonants cannot make syllables on their own, right? So that's the recap. Consonants cannot make syllables on their own. They need the help of the life. They need the help of the vowel. And putting the sounds that has life before the sound, it doesn't have life to make them move. So now we're going to look at our Padanul. And this is just a representation of how the students are going to be, how are they going to learn in class. So the first book that we're going to look at is the Padanul. And in here, we have like a chart that creates the other new syllables. So in this chart, we can see we have kuril on one column and we have nerdil in the other column. And not as before. Before we had the we going into the may. Here we have other syllables where we have the life next to the body, where it's like the life is first, it goes in front of the body. So remember, when life goes into the body, it creates a new form. But in this case, when the body is going into the life, it's not possible. So it just comes together and creates a syllable. It just sticks together. So in this example, we have a as the life plus the it as the body, and you just leave it as at, and that is the syllable. So who wants to read the rest of the chart for kuril? So can I get someone to read just kuril? Just turn off your mic and say it. Anyone. Whoever wants to read it.
At, up, dat, hut, mat, up, map, dum, hum, mum.
Good. So these are kuril because the first sound is a shorter sound. And then it finishes off with the body. So those are the syllables that are kuril. Can I get someone to read the column for nadil?
Odd,
So I'm going to pause you right there. So I want to hear the last sound as well. So you have to make sure you are emphasizing the last sound. So when you say the first one, you say art.
art.
Yes. Okay. Continue. Good.
Dot, hat, mat, dop,
Dop,
hop, mop, dom, hum.
And the last one?
And mom.
Good. Good job. So that was amazing. So this is like also something that we had to inform our students to make sure that they're opening their mouth and shortening their mouth when they're seeing the difference between kuril and nadil, but also making sure that they are saying the end sounds. We have to make sure that the students understand the difference. So that was just like a little review or like a little example of how that will work. So what this slide is basically saying is that that body doesn't go into life. So remember that life goes into body, but body doesn't go into life. So now let's read some words that we can create with the syllables that we just created in the other chart. So can I get someone to read this slide? And I want you to say it syllable by syllable.
Padam.
Good. And when you put that together, you get padam, and that simply means picture. And this is an image representing what the word means. Next one.
Patam.
So syllable by syllable first.
Patam.
Good. So that means kite. The next one.
Mattam.
Good. And that means what? Okay, because we have the picture already there. What do you think means?
Ruler.
Ruler. And it also means level. So we have both of that. Those are just measurements.
Amma. Amma.
And that means?
Mother.
Mother.
Appa. Appa. Father.
Father.
Pata. Pata. Grandfather.
Good.
Mama. Uncle.
Good. So you can't really tell by the picture, but good, you know what it means.
Papa. Baby.
Good. So those are just syllables that we created and that are joined together. So the pearls that join together that create a new word, new meaning. Now we're going to be taking a look at the next book, which is the Mulyatra. And this is like the exercise book that they do at home. So this is the practice book. And I'm just going to quickly go over what you might see in this book. So on page 3, we have specifically where they make syllables. So they're going to take what they learned in class today and they're going to create words. So here we have the consonant, which is followed by the vowel, and they're combined together and written as a syllable letter, and we can also refer to this as the vowel consonant. So here, as an example, is given it and that makes da. And then the other example is ip which means pa, which creates pa. And so can I get someone to say the chains? So the first one, if you guys can see it. Can I get Shaikaka? I don't know if I'm saying your name right.
Amma.
Good.
Padam. Mattam. Atam. Papa.
And then if you remember, so if the student remembers and understood what was going on in class, they will understand that amma would be mother, and then padam would be picture, mattam would be ruler, atam would be dance, and papa, which is baby. So these are like things that the students will understand if they paid attention to class and if they actually reviewed and understood what was going on in class. And then the next page is like another exercise where they will just join the sounds together, the vowel and the consonant together, and see if it actually creates a new form or if it just doesn't do anything. So for the first example, we can see that so into the life going into the may creates the form ma. But does it, let's take a look at the second one. We have and Does that create a new form?
No.
No. So it doesn't. So just stays the same. So the first one, it did create a new form, but for the second one, it didn't. And this is how it will be. They will have to do the exercise if they understood what was going on in class. So we have da, and then for the fourth one, it doesn't create a new form. For the fifth one, we get up which is pa. Sixth one, we have up which is pa. The seventh one, which is which is ma. For the eighth one is which is da, and then 9 doesn't make a new form. The 10th one, it doesn't make a new form, and the 11th one doesn't make a new form, and the last one doesn't make a new form. So these are just a simple exercise that the students can try at home. And then the next one they will look at is the exercise book. So this is the exercise book. I'm sorry, okay, so this is the exercise book, and it's called the Pai Chinu. And this is the exercise book that they will do in class. So this is what I will be using as a teacher for the students, and what other teachers will be using to teach their students in class. So this is what's inside the book. So they have a representation of what the new sound or syllable that they just learned, which is da, and then they create new words with it. So they have padam, which is picture, and then the rest is given out to you. You have the new sound that you learned, which is da, ma, and ah. Now we're gonna look at something very interesting, and that is very helpful for the students. So we have these lines, these what do you call it? Something that you can trace over to practice how to write. But students do struggle with making those curves correctly. And if you look at the slide right here, it shows that they don't have to start off with the curves. If they're struggling, you can tell them to practice writing in squares. And how this will work is, I can actually show you. So we have da and pa, and you can use that form to create the other sounds. So you can use da to create ma. And how you will do that is, I'm going to write on the screen. So we have da. Oh, okay, yeah. And then you just, I don't know if it's showing properly. Sure. Sorry.
Done? Not yet.
So it will look like this. So we have that da at the bottom, and then you just create an upside down da again to create ma. And this will go for all the other letters as well. So you can just teach them how to write the sounds with squares. But before I continue on, I'm just going to tell you a quick story of why this is okay to do. So I was told actually that it's okay to write it in squares at first, telling your students to write it in squares because when Tamil was first written, they've written it on an ole, which is like a palm leaf. And writing it in the circles or the curves, it can actually rip the ole or the palm leaf. But writing in squares, it doesn't actually rip it up. So this is how it was written earlier on. So it's okay for the students to write it like this because this was the origin of Tamil writing. So I hope you learned something new with that. Now we're going to just review over how we can sort these kuril and nadal sounds. So I went over that in the presentation, and that would be in the concept book. But in the exercise book, you would be putting into what you've learned. So which ones are the kuril and which ones are the nadal? Who wants to tell me what they think would be the kuril from this word box and what would be the nadal?
Pa, da, ma, kuril. A, da, pa, ma, nadal.
Yes, so that's exactly how it is. And this is how the students should be writing it if they were paying attention in class and if they actually understood the concept. But it's okay if they get it wrong because then we'll just review it over and I'll repeat myself over. So the next one would be sorting out short and long sounds, and they will put it out like this. And they'll continue practicing writing, and obviously they'll use like the square forms if they don't know how to write it in the curves. Here are forming syllables. These are breaking them apart. So if they understood how to put them together, they can also learn how to break them apart. So for example, here we have ma, and they can break it apart with and ah. And these are the rest of the examples. And then the last one is the padanul, which is, we are going back to the padanul because those are the concepts. So this is what you'll find in the concepts. Here we have the translation. So in the concept book, what they'll be doing is that they will understand that they already know the English meaning, English words, and they know the meaning of it. And then they are translating it into the Tamil words. But the difference that they will see is that when you say grandmother, in Tamil, there's two types. So you can see that in Tamil, it's very specified. So you can have appamma for grandmother, which is father's mom, and then ammamma, which is mom's mom. So this is a good way for them to like learn it and actually understand the new words that they're learning and see if they actually understand. And this is more of it. And then here you're putting the syllables together and translating it. And then this is like for fun, where they'll do like word searches. And then they can match the words that they learned to the pictures. So here we have a kite, which is pattam. And then we have the balcony, which is the madam. And then we have amma, which a mother, which is amma. And then we have picture, which is, or film, which is padam. And then we have a baby, which is papa. We have grandfather, And in general, we would just say pata. And we have a lesson book, which is padam. And then we have a ruler, which is mattam, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to finish this off. I don't want you guys to be here for so long. And then here we're just forming words again. So these are more exercises that you'll be finding inside the books. So I'm just gonna finish it off with these. So I'm gonna just end it off here. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm asking if anyone has questions.
Okay. நன்றி. தயவுசெய்து யாரும் அங்கால சத்தம் பொறியியல் இருக்கா நிப்பாட்டினா நல்லது.
பி அவர் யாருன்னு தெரியல. பி என்றவர் வந்து அதுல இருந்தா நாய்ஸ் வந்து இருக்கு. பி என்ன தனிகாசலம்
நிப்பாட்ட பார்த்தா பாக்க இவென்ட் ஒன்று பாக்க.
ரெண்டு டைம் சவுண்ட் வருது.
ஓகே. அந்த நல்ல விஷயம் 1.5 மணி நேரத்துக்கு மேலால இருந்து பொறுமையாக இந்த பிள்ளைகளை உற்சாகப்படுத்துறதுக்கு எல்லாரும் பார்த்துருக்கிறீர்கள். அந்த பிள்ளைகளும் கடின உடற்போட செய்திருக்கிறது உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், பார்க்க தெரிஞ்சிருக்க வேணும். ஆனபடினால் உங்களோட இதை பற்றிய உங்களோட கருத்துக்களை அவரோட பகிர்ந்து கொள்ளுமாறு கேட்போம். தேவரன்
Thank you, Brinda. Actually, I have some doubts. I think I'm a 12-year-old. Yeah. So my teacher teaches me, and she said the vowels are 12. There are 2 more vowels you didn't mention about it, I and ow. So how we are going to take those sounds? Are they going to come again later, or how we are going to take the I and ow? So I know that is A and E and A and U comes up. So that's one question. I have, I think, 3 questions. I'll just go through it. You want me to come on video? Okay. Yeah, so that's, I said I'm 12, yeah? Okay. Yeah. And the next one is, so when you say and the sound comes like and but there are a small variant when we say array, the sound comes as a. So how can we differentiate the sound difference between and a? Say sometimes you say amma, but if we say rai, that's wrong. So we say array or alay. So there will be a small sound difference between and a. The similar in it as well. So it, we put it as bed, as in bed. But can you see the difference?
ஒரு நிமிஷம் தயவுசெய்து ஆக்டிவ் சத்தம் வருதுப்பா, ஒரு நேரம் கேட்கலாம் இருக்குது. ப்ளீஸ் கும்பிட்டு கேட்குறேன். என்னங்கப்பா பார்க்க தெரியல, கண்டுபிடிக்க முடியல யாருண்டு. உங்களோட மைக்கை கட் பண்ணி வச்சிருங்க, உங்களுக்கே கேட்க இல்லையா?
Sorry, Master. இங்கதான் probably sound வருது.
Okay.
சொல்லுங்க, அங்க வழியா இருக்கும்.
அவன் இந்த அமாவாசைக்கு இந்த செட்டப் பண்ணி கொண்டிருக்கிறான்.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay then. So there will be a small difference in between it and id as well. So when we pronunciate bed, it comes as id. So can you see the tongue? It doesn't go in. So when we say it goes inward. So that's the proper. But in bed, that comes a little bit outside bed. Say when you say pattam, someone can pronunciate that as paddam. Paddam. Pata, pada. So how can we going to differentiate that sounds and educate me? So because I think pada, paddam, is it correct? That's not correct. Yeah? Because you teach me as it's pattam and Pata. So that's it comes there. But when we put that bed, that id in there, it comes as pada and padam. So id, it. So those kinds of difference, because my colleagues or the same age of my kids, what they do is they couldn't see the difference between the it and it. So when they talk, they call it as pada, padam. Amma can be amma. So how we are going to learn that correctly? So which sound need to go in where? Yeah, that's all. I don't want to confuse you more of that.
Okay, so I might ask you to like repeat the first two questions, but I'll start from the last one. So you said for it. So obviously I'll probably have to give you a better example for you to actually understand. But I did mention in the presentation, this is like the sound. So the bed is like the sound, but you're going to have to add more force or pressure to when you're saying bed. So, and then that's when I said you have to say it. So you're putting more force. So you're saying bed, but with more force. So you'll say bed. So like you're adding that force to it. But I probably have to give more, like a better example. Obviously, like Tamil is very different from English, but we're trying for them to like relate to it. So that's why I added that example in. But for if you were a 12-year-old who gets confused, then obviously you'll have to ask that question for me to actually, for you to understand if you're paying attention and you're like, wait, why is it you're saying it's bed, but then you're telling me to say it, then you'll have to ask me that question. What is that difference? Why is there a difference? Then I'll tell you again, you add that pressure in. And then I think the second question was you said for array, and then if this I'm not sure if I got it correctly.
Amma and array.
So like how do you know like which to use? It's a good question. To recall my thought.
அரவுக்கு சவுண்ட் இல்ல தனமா அரவு அது இட்ஸ் என்ன சொல்றீங்க சிம்பிள் என்ன ஆ சத்தத்துக்கு அந்த அரவு சேர்க்கிறோம் அரவுக்கு மட்டும் தனி சவுண்ட் ஒன்று இல்ல
No, it's not aravu, it's
அரவு
array.
நாங்க அரவு வந்து தனி ஒரு சத்தத்தை
It's not
எழுப்பாது
aravu, amma. It's array. Array means half. Array. Array, grind. Array.
Sorry.
ஒரு நிமிஷம் நான் சொல்றேன். உயிரெழுத்துக்கும் வல்லின மெய்களுக்கும் மாற்றொலிகள் இருக்குது. வல்லினத்தை எடுத்துக்கொண்டால் 4 ஒலிகள் ஒவ்வொரு வல்லினத்துக்கும் இருக்கு. நாங்கள் 24 ஒலிகளுக்கு 6 ஒலிகளால நாங்கள் அதை பாவிக்கிறோம். ஏனென்றால் அதின் புறப்படவும் அதின் முயற்சி புறப்பும் ஒரே இடத்துல தங்கு மஞ்சள் எல்லாம் தானாகவே அந்த ஒலி பிறக்கும். இதுதான் தமிழ் விஞ்ஞானபூர்வமான மொழி. ஏனென்றால் அதுக்கென்று எழுத்து நாங்கள் வச்சிருக்கேன். அதுபோல உயிர் எடுத்துக்கொண்டால் உயிர் முன்னுக்கு வேலை கேட்பா அம்மா. அதே நேரம் கடைசிக்கு வந்து சொல்லுவோம் இல்லா வேற அதில வாராவும் இதுல வாராவும் ஒலி வேறுபடும். இது தானாகவே பிறக்கும். அங்க ஒன்றும் வலிந்து அந்த ஒலியை சொல்ல வேண்டிய தேவை இல்லை. அந்த மெயினான அதாவது இப்ப ஒரு வல்லினத்தை இக்கண்டு படிச்சோம்னா அது கா சவுண்ட் உள்ளது. அதை படிச்சு போட்டு நீங்கள் வேற எங்க போட்டா என்ன, அது தண்டு உயிருக்கு இடையில விதைக்கல அல்ல தண்டு மெல்லினத்துக்கு இடையில விதைக்கல, அதன் ஒலி தானாக மாறுபடும். அது நாங்கள் அதுக்கு வலிந்து ஒரு ஒலியை கொடுக்க வேண்டிய தேவை இல்லை. அது ஏன் மாறுபடுது என்றால் அது அப்படித்தான், அது தானாக அந்த ஒலிகளோட மாறுபடும். அதுதான் மாற்றொலிகள். அது ஒரு வேறு டாபிக். அதை படிக்க கேட்கல ஆசிரியர்களுக்கு அதை விளங்கினா அதை அந்த பிள்ளைக்கு விளங்கப்படுத்துவார். அதுதான் என்னுடைய அந்த மொழியியல் சார்ந்த கல்வி அதெல்லாம் இருக்கு. இதுல இருக்கிறத படிச்ச வைக்க தெரியுமா?
And to add on to that answer, like this is why we are teaching these first letters first. So like when you said ade, we didn't teach that id yet. So we only taught them So like we're telling them how the and the goes together. So we're teaching them how it actually sounds. And then later on when we're teaching the id part, we would tell them how it kind of changes and how it will come together, I guess. And what was your first question?
That's my question, because Anna explained it. Because my question is about when you introducing the sound as a, I think it's better to introduce. You have more different sounds in that a as well. As Martoli and Sonnade, other if you can introduce that as well when you are introducing, because
I feel like that will confuse the student though, because you're teaching them as like there's so many letters, then they're gonna be like, oh, I don't want to learn this anymore, and it's gonna scare them off.
No, you can't just mention it. It may be there will be sounds at different slight different sounds.
ஒரு நிமிஷம் தாங்க எனக்கு இந்த எழுத்துக்கள் எல்லாம் அறிமுகப்படுத்திக்கல. அதான் நான் சொன்னேன், ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லாங்குவேஜ் புக்குக்கும் செகண்ட் லாங்குவேஜ் புக்குக்கும் இதுதான் பேசிக்கலி ப்ராப்ளம். நாங்கள் இந்த சவுண்டுகள் மாஸ்டர் பண்ணட்டு முதல் இதை இந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லெசன்ல இது மாஸ்டர் பண்ண பிறகு அடுத்தது 2, அடுத்தது 1 அப்படியே அட் பண்ணி கொண்டு போகலாம். அந்த டிஃபரெண்ட்களும் அந்த சவுண்டுகளும் எனக்கு மெல்ல மெல்ல லேர்ன் பண்ணி கொண்டு போவான். அவன் மொழி பேச தெரியாது. அவனுக்கு நாங்கள் படிப்பிக்க முதல் லெசன்ல 5 சவுண்ட் தான் படிப்பிக்கும். அதுக்கு 5 ஒலிகள், அதுக்கு பிறகு 2, அதுக்கு பிறகு 2, அதுக்கு பிறகு 1 புத்தாத்த பாத்தீங்கன்னா தெரியும். அப்ப அப்படி சேர்த்து கொண்டு போய்க்கிறதான் அவன் சின்ன சின்ன அந்த வித்தியாசங்களை உணர்றான். அந்தந்த இடத்துலதான் அவன் சொல்லப்படும். இது செய்யறது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் லெசன். ஒரு மொழி தெரியாத ஒரு ஆளுக்கு எப்படி அந்த மொழியை பற்றி சொல்லி அதை எழுத்துக்களை தொடக்கிறது படிப்பிக்க. இதுதான் அந்த பிள்ளை செய்த முதலாவது விஷயம். அங்கால போய் செய்து கொண்டு போய்க்கல அதுகள் அப்படியே பரிமாண வளர்ச்சி பெற்று கொண்டு போகும். நாங்கள் அதாவது இந்த சப்ஜெக்ட்ல முழு மொழிகளை நாங்கள் பார்த்து பேசுறது கஷ்டமா இருக்கும் அந்த பிள்ளைக்கு. அதான் அது பெரிய விஷயம். அது ஆனா படிக்கிறதுக்கு பிரச்சனை இல்லை, ஒரு பிரச்சனை இருக்கா. வடிவா ப்ரொனன்சியேட் பண்ணிடலாம், வடிவா வச்சு. அதுக்காகத்தான் அசையாக படிக்கிறதுன்ற ஒரு பெரிய லாபம் என்னென்றால் உச்சரிப்பு முறைப்படி சரியாக இருக்கு. 100 அது அசையாக படிக்காவிட்டால் இந்த பிரச்சனை வரும்.
And then you had one more question. Sorry, Thanika master.
கேட்கல
இல்ல Thanika master இன்னும் ஒரு கேள்வி கேட்டவர். Like first கேள்வி என்னது? Where I was frozen.
அந்த ஐயமாவும் என் உயிரெழுத்துக்குள்ள போடுது.
Okay, so if I were to explain,
சொல்ல போறீங்களா இல்ல
நான் சொல்றேன். பிள்ளையா இருந்தா நீங்க கரெக்ட் பண்ணுங்க மாஸ்டர். Okay, so first of all நாங்க உயிர எழுத்தல இன்ட்ரோடியூஸ் பண்றோம். அது நேச்சுரல் லைக் இலகுவாக வருது, right? இயற்கையாக வருது. But the I and the of, we are not putting it in because those are like, it has like a kind of like a blockage. Like I, when you say it has like that blockage, and that it kind of has that blockage. And so that's why it's not kind of like said with the rest of the weird arthahar. And also it is so like when I explain it for I, it's kind of you're saying it with the ana and the iana. So you're putting the those letters together and creating that vowel basically. And the same thing for au. You're putting the ana and the iv together and you're creating that vowel au. So those are going to kind of be explained afterwards. We don't want the students to get confused with first you're saying it's natural, and now you're saying it's like you also have these 2 other extra letters that are kind of not natural. But so that's why those are kind of excluded from the 10 letters of Uyirarthal.
Very good. அதோட ஐயும் அவும் வந்து ஒலியங்கள் அல்ல. ஒலியல்ல 28 ஒலிகள் தான் தமிழுக்கு அடிப்படை. ஐ அவ் ஒலியங்கள் அல்ல. 18 மெய்களும் 10 உயிர்களும் தான் அடிப்படை ஒலியங்கள். ஒரு சொற்கள் பொருள் அதை ஒலியன் படிக்கல அந்த அதை படித்தால் அது முழுமையாக விளங்கும். அதாவது அடிப்படை தமிழுக்குரிய அடிப்படை ஒலிகள் 28. ஐயம் அவ்வையும் சேர்த்து முதல் எழுத்து 30. இதான் அந்த ஐயம் அவ்வை நீக்க வேண்டும் என்று கூட தமிழ்நாட்டில் இன்றைக்கு பலர் சொல்லிக் கொண்டிருக்கிறார்கள். ஐ ஆ இ அது ஈயோட சேர்த்தான் முழுமையா பெறும். ஆ இ அதை பற்றி ஒரு லெசனே இருக்கு. அது வந்து அடிப்படை ஒலியன் அல்ல. ஐயமாவும் ஒலியன் அல்ல. நல்ல கேள்வி. பல
பேருக்கு கூட்டொலிகள் அ இ ரெண்டும் இணைந்து ஐ ஆகுது. அ உ இவ்வில்லையம்மா அ உ ரெண்டும் இணைந்து 2 உயிர்கள் தான் அங்க இணையுது. அங்க மெய் இணையுது.
இல்ல 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 அது போல
அது ஆ இவ் ஊ ன்னு வருது. So like it's not, so it's like you're
மூன்றும் வரும். ஆ இ வரும், ஆ ஊ வரும், 2 மாத்திரம் மாறுதான். ஆனால் அத ஒரு சொல்லுக்கும் பின்னால வரைக்கும் முடிவில வரைக்கல ஆ இ வரும். ஐ ஔ. ஆனா முன்னுக்கு வரைக்க அதான் ஐகார குறுக்கம் வந்து இலக்கணத்துல போட்டு புற படிச்சுப்பாங்க. முன்னுக்கு வரைக்கல அந்த ஊவும் அதோட இல்லையா.
So as a 12-year-old, basically, this would be too much to learn at once.
நான் நினைக்கிறேன் இந்த புள்ள செய்ததை பற்றி ஒரு கதைக்கிறது நல்லது.
Yeah, well done. Actually, because I'm coming back to my original. I am Nayaparan. I'm the head teacher of a school in here, and I've been teaching Tamil for the past 30 years. And you are extraordinary. Wonderful presentation today.
Thank you.
And this is quite a new form to us, actually, because I've been in contact with Anna for a couple of months now, and I was so, I don't know how to express that, because I'm keep texting to my other teachers and all. Oh, there is a fantastic presentation is going on here. So bravo child, you have very well done it, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I just want to trouble you by pinching you like this and that, but it's quite wonderful presenting, and I just want to bring the kids in UK as well to teach like this and to bring Tamil to the other things. So overall, that's you give me because Anna only asked me to come for 15 minutes, but I couldn't go. I was here for more than 1.5 hours because I didn't want to leave this place. So you are so brilliant. I think all Anna's other students also going to be the same. So I want to be here with you, Anna, the other classes as well. I just want to see how these kids are bringing up Tamil, because நாங்கள் தமிழ் என்று கத்திக்கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். தமிழ் கத்திரம் இன்றைக்கு இந்த பிள்ளைகள வாயிலிருந்து இவ்வளத்துக்கு தமிழை ஆய்வு செய்து you are bringing so wonderful Tamil. So that's we are very proud about you, Amma. Brinda, well done.
Thank you.
Keep your colors.
Brinda தெரியும் யூகேல இருந்து பேசுறார். அங்க பெரிய பள்ளிக்கூடம் வச்சிருக்கிறார். நீண்ட காலமாக இப்ப இந்த போல அவர் தமிழுக்காக பல இதுகள் செய்திருக்கிறார், பல முயற்சிகள். அதை பாராட்டு உனக்கு ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு பாராட்டு. அது நல்ல ஆழ்ந்த வாயாலும் உங்களுக்கு அது கிடைச்சிருக்கு. அதை இணக்கம் மகிழ்ச்சி நீ மகிழ்ந்து கொள்ளலாம். வேறு ஏதாவது கமெண்ட் சொன்னா நாங்க முடிச்சு கொள்வோம். வேண்டாம், நேரம் போயிட்டு கண்டு மத்தியாது. சொல்லுங்க
பிருந்தா. நீங்கள் அந்த ஒலிகள் வருதுன்னு சொன்னீங்களா என்ன? அந்த ஒலி எங்க இருந்து வருது, எந்த இடத்துல அந்த பிளாக்கேஜ் வருது? நீங்கள் பிள்ளைகளுக்கு சொன்னீங்களா லைக் த்ராட்ல இக் சொல்ற டைல எங்க பிளாக் பண்ணுது? அப்ப அந்த ஒலி எங்களுக்கு மாஸ்டர் சொல்லி தானே அந்த உந்தியிலிருந்து எழும்பி வர ஒலி அந்த சவுண்ட் எங்க இருந்து எங்களுக்கு ஃபார்ம் ஆகி வருது வெளியே. அத
So
நீங்கள் பிள்ளை
அது நான்
சொல்லலாம்.
இங்கிலீஷ்ல சொன்னா like it's coming like you're saying it with the pressure and
Yeah, with the pressure, but it's where it's come.
Oh.
Like kundi, it's, you know, it's not like throttler in the ingada mouthala varilla. It's
okay, so like say from it's coming from your belly.
Yeah. அப்ப அந்த சத்தம் அங்க வந்துட்டா நீங்க பிளாக் வரும். நாங்க throat-ஆலயோ இல்ல mouth-ஆல எடுத்தா அந்த ஒலி வராது.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
பிளாக் வரேன்னா நான் உண்டியில இருந்து வார நேரம் தான் throat-லயோ அல்லது mouth-லயோ nose-லயோ பிளாக் ஆகுது. அது நீங்க சொல்லும். Play சொல்ற நேரம் they understand more.
Okay.
Yeah.
வேற யாராவது இன்னும் ஒரு 2 கமெண்டோட நிப்பாட்டும். வேற யாராவது யூகேல இருந்து வந்து சொல்லலாம். அங்க உள்ளக்கு நடுக கலைக்கிறது. துளசி
ஆமா, நான் துளசி லண்டன்ல இருந்து கதைக்கிறேன்டா. நீங்க வந்து எனக்கு இத மட்டும் அப்படித்தான் விளக்கம் மட்டும் சொல்லி விடுங்க. உயிரெழுத்தும் உயிர்மை எழுத்தும் அசைகள், இதுதானே அந்த நீங்க சொன்னதுல இருந்து நான் எடுத்த ஒரு விஷயம். எழுத்தும் உயிர்மை எழுத்தும் அசைகள், அதாவது வந்து அசையக்கூடியது. சரி, மெய்யெழுத்து அசையாது. இது வந்து நான் என்னுடைய சின்ன பிள்ளைகளுக்கு ஒரு மெதட்டா சொல்றதுக்காக எடுக்கிறேன். சரிதானேம்மா?
So அதுண்ட எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணது என்றால் லைக் உங்களோட உயிர் என்று அதுண்ட லைக் உயிர் இருந்தாதான் நீங்க அந்த மூவ் பண்ணலாம்னு சொல்றது, ரைட்? உயிர் இல்லாம நீங்க மூவ் பண்ணிடலாது, அதுதான் மெய். சோ மெய்ன்ற உங்களோட பாடி, அது உயிர் இல்லாத பாடி, ரைட்? சோ அது ஒரு டெட் பாடி மாதிரி. சோ அதுதான் இந்த அசையாதுன்னு சொல்றது. அது ரெண்டும் சேரும் பொழுதுதான் நீங்க அதை அசையும்னு சொல்லுவீங்க.
அதே நேரம் உயிரும் அசையுதுதான்.
உயிரும் அசையும்.
அத பிரசன்டேஷன்ல வடிவா போட்டிருந்தவா துளசி இதை பற்றி கமெண்ட் அவார்டு இதை பற்றி ஒரு இளம்பிள்ள படிக்க விருப்பப்படுறா.
Yeah, Brinda, it's yeah, last time it was a little faster, but this is good flow. It's nice, and I think the kids will understand. There was a couple of kids too, so they understand everything. So it's you've done a good job. Yeah.
Thank you for participating today too. Thank you.
No problem. Even though we are learning from you guys too.
வேற யாராவது சொல்லியிருந்தா?
வணக்கம் நான் சசிந்தா. இந்த கிளாஸஸ் ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணி லிங்க்ஸ் இருக்குமா? பிரகாக்கள் போய் பார்க்க
இருக்கு. சசி சொல்லுமா?
பிள்ளை எனக்கு ஒரு விஷயம் என்னன்னு சொன்னா, நாங்கள் ஊர்ல இருந்து படிக்கிற காலத்துங்கள்ல தமிழுக்கு சயின்ஸை கண்டுபிடிப்பு ஆக்கள் போகணும். சயின்ஸ் மேத்ஸ் பக்கத்துக்கு போறவங்க தமிழுக்கு பாரு இல்லை. நீர் ஒரு இன்ஜினியரிங் ஸ்டூடெண்டா இருந்தோண்டு தமிழை படிக்கிறது ஒரு மேத்ஸ் படிக்கிற மாதிரி எனக்கு அது இதுகளெல்லாம் மாஸ்டர் மெதட்ல படிக்கிறது நல்லா இருக்கு. கேட்ட கேள்விக்கெல்லாம் மாஸ்டர் என்ன சொல்லி தந்தாரோ அதுக்கு இல்லாத ஆன்சர் பண்ணினாதான் நீங்க எனக்கு பெரிய மகிழ்ச்சியா இருக்கு. மாஸ்டர் என்ன சொன்னாரோ அதுக்கு இல்லாத உங்களுடைய ஆன்சர் இருந்தது.
மாஸ்டர் சொன்ன வழியாதான் எனக்கு விளங்கினது. அப்படிதான் இந்த டீச் பண்ண
பாராட்டுறேன். மாஸ்டர் என்ன சொன்னாரோ அதுக்கு இல்லாத வந்து நீங்க ஆன்சர் பண்றீங்க. எனக்கு நல்லா பிடிச்சது. நல்ல பிரசன்டேஷன். நீங்க தான் நம்மளை அடுத்த தலைமுறை கொண்டு போகணும். நான் உண்மையில மாஸ்டரோட நான் தான் சந்தோஷம்.
Thank you.
சியாமலா ஏதாவது கமெண்ட் இந்த பிள்ளைக்கு? அங்க இங்கிலாந்து செல்வமா?
பிருந்தா, நீங்க உங்களோட பல்கலைக்கழக கல்வியோட இதையும் செய்தது பெரிய விஷயம். நல்லா ஆய்வு செய்திருக்கிறீங்க. நானும் பிள்ளைகளுக்கு படிப்பிக்கல, எங்களோட பிள்ளைகள் கூட மேத்ஸ்ல நல்லா இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆயிருக்கிறாங்க. அதால நான் மேத்ஸ் மாதிரி தான் தமிழ் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிதான் நான் தொடங்குறது. இடத்தான் அவைகளுக்கு கூட இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் வரும். அப்ப மேத்ஸ் மாதிரி விளங்கப்படுத்தவும் முடியுது. நீங்களும் அதே இதுல நல்ல வடிவா நல்ல ஆய்வு செய்திருக்கிறீங்க. எங்களை விட கூட செய்திருக்கிறீங்கன்னு சொல்லணும். நல்ல வடிவா செய்திருக்கிறீங்க.
மாஸ்டர் செய்த ரிசர்ச் தான் நான் திருப்பி உங்கள்கிட்ட சொல்லுறேன். சொல்லி தந்ததுதான்.
அப்ப தொடர்ந்து தமிழ் நீங்க செய்யலாம் நினைக்கிறேன். தொடர்ந்து இதுல இருக்கலாம், இந்த ஃபீல்டுல இருக்கலாம். நீங்கள் வாழ்த்துக்கள், தொடர்ந்து செய்யுங்க. உங்களோட புதிய ஆய்வுகளையும் எதிர்பார்க்கிறோம்.
உங்களோட ஊக்கத்தோட இருந்தால் நான் இன்னும் வளர்ந்து இன்னும் உங்களுக்கு சொல்லி தரலாம்.
அதான் உங்களோட பேச்சாற்றலையும் வளர்த்துக் கொள்ளுங்க, தமிழ்ல பேச்சாற்றலையும் வளர்த்துக் கொள்ளுங்க. அது என்ற குட்டி அட்வைஸ்.
ஓகே,
நல்லா பேசுவாங்க.
குறையா நான் சொல்ல இல்ல, கொஞ்சம் சேர்த்துக்கொள்ளுங்கன்னு சொல்றேன், குறையா சொல்ல இல்ல.
இப்பதான் நான் கதைக்க தொடங்கி இருக்கிறேன். நான் யூஸ்வலா கதைக்கிறேன் இல்ல, சோ இது ஒரு பெரிய விஷயம் எனக்கு.
அதான் நேரடா அது இவ்வளவு டேலண்ட் உள்ள பிள்ளைக்கு அது ஒரு சின்ன குறைபாடா இருக்கக்கூடாது என்றதுக்காகத்தான் சொன்னேனே தவிர அதை நான் குறையா நான் சொல்ல இல்லையா.
தேங்க்யூ தேங்க்யூ.
நல்லது. தியாமலாண்டி இருக்கிறீங்களா?
பிருந்தா, உங்களோட டெக்னிக்கல் எக்ஸ்பர்டீஸ், கம்ப்யூட்டர் எக்ஸ்பர்டீஸ், இங்கிலீஷ் எக்ஸ்பர்டீஸோட தமிழை சேர்த்து பிளெண்ட் பண்ணது இட் வாஸ் ஃபேண்டாஸ்டிக். மற்றது அதான் சொல்லுவாங்க தமிழ்ல சித்திரமும் கைப்பழக்கம், கையளக்கு இருக்கு யூ கெட் பெர்ஃபெக்ஷன். அது மாதிரி ஆன்டி சொன்ன மாதிரி செந்தமிழும் நாப்பழக்கம். அப்ப நீங்க the more you talk with your understanding and learning, it will come out.
Yes,
when you practice. Okay, congrats Amma, good job. உங்களோட ரெக்கார்டிங்ஸ் இருந்தா லிங்க் அனுப்பினா நாங்க மெட்டாக்களோடையும் ஷேர் பண்ணி they can go through the lessons and even though they missed this presentation. Thank you.
ஆறாவது நிப்பாட்டுவோம். இதோட ஆறாவது அமெரிக்கால இருந்து வந்து போல இருக்கு 2-3 பேர். ஆறாவது கவுண்ட் பண்ண போறீங்களா? அமெரிக்கால இருந்து புளோரிடா பக்கம் இந்த 2 நாள் படம் தெரியுது. அது ஆக்கல காலையில அது வந்து நக்கிறேன்னா ஆறாவது இருந்தால் கவனம் சொல்ல போகிறதா வரலாம். அமெரிக்கா
ஆசா, நான் சசின்தா கதைக்கிறேன்.
ஓகே, சொல்லுங்க.
முதலா நான் கேட்டேன்னா அடுத்த ஜெனரேஷன் எப்படி தமிழ் படிக்கிறேன்னு. கடவுளுடைய நிறைய ஆசீர்வாதங்கள்ல உண்மையா புல்லரிச்சு போயிட்டு இப்படி அந்த லேர்ன் பண்ணிருக்கீங்கன்னா ஒரு இது உங்களுக்கு கிடைச்ச வெற்றி. அதோட அந்த பிள்ளையின் ஆர்வம் எல்லாத்துக்கும் எங்களுடைய மனமார்ந்த வாழ்த்துக்கள் ஆசான்.
நன்றி நன்றி. இதுல அந்த இப்படி 30 பிள்ளைகள் படிச்சு கொண்டு இருக்கிறோம். அந்த பிள்ளைகளை எல்லாரும் பல்கலைக்கழகத்தை உள்ளாக்கள் முடிச்சு ஸ்கூல்ல டீச்சரா இருக்கிறதே இருக்கிறோம். அப்ப இப்படிப்பட்ட பிள்ளைகள் முன் வந்ததுக்கு அவைக்கு முதல் நன்றி. அந்த பிள்ளைகளை அனுமதிச்சதுக்கு பெற்றோர்களுக்கு நன்றி. இப்படியாக இன்னும் ஒரு கூட்டம் செய்துமா இருந்தால் அடுத்த தலைமுறையில தமிழை படிப்பிக்க கூடியவர்களை நாங்கள் உருவாக்கி விட்டு போவோம். அவர்கள் அதுக்குள்ள தமிழ் கடலுக்குள்ள வந்தால் அவர்கள் தாங்களே படித்து நாங்கள் இது ரிலே மாதிரி நாங்கள் ஓடிக்கொண்டே கொடுத்த இதை மிச்சம் அங்கால இன்னும் அபிவிருத்தி செய்து மேலும் மேம்படுத்தி கொண்டு போய் அவர்கள் அதை முடிப்பார்கள். இதுதான் நாங்கள் எங்களோட ஜெனரேஷன் செய்ய வேண்டிய வேலை. அந்தக்கு வந்த பிள்ளைகளுக்கு உண்மையா பாராட்டு. நன்றி. நாங்கள் அப்ப உதவி செய்வோம். கிட்டத்தட்ட 2 மணி நேரம் இதுல இருந்து கலந்து கொண்டு இதை சிறப்பிச்ச எல்லாருக்கும் இருந்தா அருமையான பிரசன்டேஷன் செய்திருக்கிறேன்.
நன்றி எல்லாருக்கும் வந்ததுக்கு and listen பண்ணினதுக்கு and thank you master திருப்பி இந்த opportunity தந்ததுக்கு.
எனக்கு சொல்ல தெரியும். ஓகே,
நன்றி.